10 million Kina to refurbish NHC building. 6 ministers reshuffled. And churches say end violent sorcery accusations.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Seah.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Tuesday's news. The National Housing Corporation has engaged 4 consultants in its move to completely refurbish the NHC building at Tokarara. Leading the team is Joseph Poe, a Papua New Guinean senior architect who graduated from the University of Technology in 2012. The refurbishment will be the first in a long time since the construction of the NHC office in Port Moresby.
A major refurbishment is expected to take place at the National Housing Corporation head office in Port Moresby.
It's quite an old building.
NHC renovation and project manager Joseph Poe says the design concept were developed last year and he is hopeful to get the work started after the tender process is complete.
We're architects, we take things passionately. Designers, engineers also, I'd say. So it's quite something challenging for me and also something that I want to accomplish.
The full refurbishment of the NHC head office is funded by the national government at 10 million Kina. The massive renovation drive is aimed at giving NHC a new and improved look with facilities such as office desks, stairways, car park and landscape and upgrade.
Proper procurement process for this project. So part of that, we had to engage 4 consultants on board to verify, validate our drawings and move on into the stages, the next stages, which is the approval process and NCDC building permit, tender process, and then for construction.
This morning, 4 consultants signed contract agreements with NHC to provide various specialties in the different building aspects. Anthony Fisher, Managing Director of Journey Architects, is one of the contractors whose scope of work involves the approval of architectural designs.
In designs, landscaping, and all that. I'm happy to be selected by NHC to do a peer review on all the engineering work.
The NHC head office in Port Moresby is an old building with most of its facilities in dire need of repair. Inside the building, old cabinets have turned rusty. There is no proper air ventilation and files stacked up as seen in this footage because of a lack of a data system. But with the refurbishment of this vital government office set to begin soon, it is predicted the new head office will be completed between 10 to 12 months.
They'll be going through the design works of the team that is presented the documentation, our team, that have come with the design and detailed designs of this facility. In a few months, a few weeks from now, this entire place will be demolished. And we need their expertise. And I'm proud to say all Papua New Guineans here who are fronting up here, we will also sign an agreement with them for their professional service that they will deliver to NHC.
The other 3 consultants are also Papua New Guinean owned and will work closely with NHC before actual refurbishment commences. Thekla Jogo, National EMTV News.
In the wake of 2 members of parliament being fully restored back to office by their respective leadership tribunals and at the eve of National Executive Council's first meeting for 2022, Prime Minister James Marape announced portfolio changes to 6 ministries. The ministries include Commerce and Industry, Defence, Transport and Infrastructure, Civil Aviation, Forest Ministry and Correctional Service.
Prime Minister James Marape, in a media statement, announced a cabinet reshuffle yesterday, noting 6 rotated portfolio changes. This change comes after Sam Basil and Solan Mirisim being restored back to full office by their respective leadership tribunals, and on the eve of NEC's preparations for its first meeting for 2022. While Sam Basil remains as Deputy Prime Minister, he takes over the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure from William Sam, who is now in charge of the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, previously held by the Deputy Prime Minister. Civil Aviation Minister Seki Agisa is now moved to Correctional Services, and Correctional Service Minister Windaki now given the Defence Ministry. Solan Mirisim, who has been holding the Defence Ministry after coming out of a leadership tribunal, has been given the Forest Ministry, while Forest Minister Walter Schnobelt now takes over Civil Aviation. Prime Minister James Marpe said in a media statement that the reshuffle had nothing to do with the performance of the ministers rotated, but an opportunity for them to be exposed to other sectors of work. Prime Minister Marpe further stated with the elections coming up, he will be at work to assist ministers in their roles so the executive government functions right through the election period. Kilawani National MTV News.
The Hagen Corner Group at Saiwara Settlement adjacent to Jackson's International Airport was given eviction notice by the National Airports Corporation. The NAC wants to reclaim the land. However, the land is also being claimed by traditional landowners. In the meantime, the settlers have constructed several high covenant houses, church buildings, including rental properties with flourishing SMEs. They say they've heavily invested in the area and are concerned what will happen if they are evicted by NAC.
Imagine building a business and having assets like a house and vehicles, but only to find out that these assets must be removed. For these residents and businessmen at Hagen Corner in the Saiwara community, they face eviction from the National Airports Corporation. Abraham Kewa worked hard to build his assets and now is confused what will happen to them.
Me no go to school or slagain, but me struggle lo street, me sale all wara lo street, lo 4 mile bus stop, me sale wara go na mix sale lilik money. Me bunga money na me struggle go na me build him slab. Na me as me grow little SME, me study over me salawara. Na from that me buy taxi. Na from that me walk build him ECC taxi go. Then me salawal taxi go na me come moving along. This la property like na me building today.
Kewa says he hasn't been given any assurance on how he will be compensated if his assets are removed if the eviction happens.
All the people just move out because all the state this la ground belong NEC what all the wasem. All the gold not make on la Sunday lo mibla. All the people need to move him or something by end of this month. So now 1 week I'm going to finish now. Mibla got 3 weeks left. Asti to all come.
There are many high covenant houses that are built in the area, and with the need for rental accommodation, they have been expanded. Business owners who run SMEs also reside in the area and have spent money to pay for the land.
We were advised by the landowner that this is a traditional land. It was on a 99 years lease, and that lease period was expired. And so I'm assuring Mimi Osema, this I'm ground blame, I'm blame.
The community has been growing, and with a high cost of living in the city, they have resorted to buying traditional land on the outskirts of the city.
I'm a taxpayer to this country. I've been employed for the last 10 years. Now I'm paying tax to this country, development of this country. Now, I can't afford to live in the prime areas within the city. It's too high. So we have to, I have to come here and settle here. Okay, this is my property. I spent some money to build this house. It's more than 200,000, I can say, estimated cost, including the fencing and all that.
John Pundia says the government has been talking about take back PNG, and Papua New Guineans living in the area should be given the opportunity to have a stake in the land.
The Prime Minister told us we are taking back PNG, take back PNG. So whom are we taking PNG back from? That's the question. Okay. I have some small SME here. SME talk finish. We can't operate within the city. It's just too much. So The concern BMEM, is it really NAC trying to develop this area, or is it somebody else at the back pushing?
Pundi says that they should be given opportunity to keep staying in the area, and there must be a fair compromise to all parties.
They should do something about it. Larem Yumi stop, I think what they are doing to 9 Mile. Maybe Lukim Musa Tolman stop here, cut him all ground, give him the hole, we can pay and then stop.
Fidelis Sukina, National EMTV News.
National EMTV News continues with more stories after these short messages. Stay with us. Welcome back. Police in NCD yesterday rescued an elderly woman from her captors at Konedobu. She was accused of practicing sorcery. Police were alerted by NGO group Tribal Foundation. Following this, Commander NCD Central Assistant Commissioner Anthony Wagambi Jr. said police will investigate and take action against those accused of abusing and incarcerating the woman. The same police attention will be applied to other such cases. He added that NCD is a metropolitan city and cannot allow this sick culture to take root in the city. Wagambi calls for collaboration from law enforcement agencies to undertake massive awareness in the city on sorcery-related violence and killings to remind the public of the law. The PNG Council of Churches today called for a media conference to make their stand against sorcery-related accusations, violence in the country. They say enough has been said at all levels about sorcery-related violence and it is time now to act.
While Parliament has enacted laws to safeguard and protect the lives of the victims of sorcery accusations-related violence, none has yet been convicted in the court of law in Enga. Bishop Justin Sunji of Wabeg made this statement during a media conference earlier today by the PNG Council of Churches at the Catholic Bishops' Conference, calling for action to end sorcery-related violence.
None has yet to be convicted by the court of law in the Enga province, as far as I know. Maybe there has been, but to my knowledge, there is none. We have lost many lives. Many families were shattered, and irreparable physical and psychological damages have been inflicted to the many others, especially the women who survived.
The PNG Council of Churches are appalled by the recent torture of women in the Highlands and are calling on the government and concerned leaders to ensure there are strong and effective social and justice pillars.
And therefore, I would appeal very much that the police should be supported very well to carry out the responsibility to help stop this fight with the people together, acting with our people to stop such barbaric act like this, to destroy life. I'd like to appeal to you all of us churches, to be truly united and be one voice to stop this act that is really destroying life and terminating life unnecessarily and illegally.
A female retired educator, Bernadette Ove, proposed action points stemming from her belief that education is a powerful tool that can be used to transform mindsets.
Local members of parliament, election is coming. Local members of parliament to lead change with their community leaders, pastors, priests, councillors, etc. I believe maybe it is happening, but maybe not happening at the level that we want to see it happen. And the local MPs must be there. They must walk the talk. The third proposal I'd like to make is identify change champions or influential advocates and put them through training and equip them with resources, tools, and support in the community to drive mindsets and behavioral change. Use the sport, that is rugby league, as a powerful platform to raise awareness against sorcery accusation-related violence.
In 2018, a joint strategic plan was launched, a government and churches partnership. To date, none of the action plans of that strategy has been achieved.
And it was launched with the view that it was going to be carried out by the churches
Unfortunately, funding was the issue, and therefore until today we know none of the churches have applied through that fund. I think that is one weakness of the government. When they plan something, they are not able to tell the communities who will be taking the leading role in ensuring how they should go about probably putting together plans to access funding. That kind of information does not go down well to the churches.
The PNG Council of Churches say enough has been said. It is time for action.
So many things have happened and so much has been said, and I think it is not really time for action.
We need to stop talking about SARF because we have done enough talking already. At the various meetings and conferences at the national level, regional level, and even at the provincial level, it is time now to act, to get to the real issue, when and where it is happening, to address from there. It is a combined effort, and we all, including the responsible government departments, NGOs, churches, and community leaders, parliamentarians, need to put our heads together for this one important cause that is degrading our society.
Kilawani National MTV News.
The Climate Change Development Authority has signed a Memorandum of Understanding with New Ireland Hardwood Timber for the development of carbon credits in PNG. This is an initiative to support forest landowners and their communities receive incentives for conserving their forests whilst contributing to the global climate change fight.
The Memorandum of Understanding was signed between the Climate Change Development Authority Acting Managing Director William Lakain and New Ireland Hardwood Timber CEO Esrom Toligu Jr. This MOU paves way for the development of carbon trades in PNG, and the developer New Ireland Hardwood Timber is currently rolling out the project in the Konoagil area of Namatanai.
The MOA we are signing here today provides a blueprint for Papua New Guinea's leadership in the fight against climate change. We also want to thank the landowners of Konoagil in New Ireland who have trusted us for the past 5 years to deliver on the promise of this project.
PNG over the years have been putting a lot of effort in finding finance and other incentives for conserving forests and other natural ecosystems. While the impacts of climate change are real and imminent, there are little progress in the implementation of policies and planning. However, the national government is implementing the RED Plus strategy with support from development partners. While the carbon markets are in operation and have attracted developers to venture into RED Plus projects across the world, PNG has attracted one such developer in New Ireland Hardwood Timbers. The CCDA Managing Director says the project can generate revenue for the country.
If our programs go the way we want it to go, we will provide 1 billion or 2 billion annually through climate change activities. And that's where we are trying to prove to the government that given the assistance of NITE, similar programs, we are telling the government that we will provide the alternative revenue.
The carbon credit project will ensure forest landowners receive incentives for conserving their forest while contributing to the global climate change fight. The project will create job opportunities and economic benefits for the landowners, all this while creating a new economy for PNG.
Provide a substantive economic benefit to the landowners who will receive a minimum of 50% of the net revenue generated from each of the new projects, and creating a first line of defense against the threat of climate change and preserving and conserving the great PNG tropical rainforest. All this while creating a new economy for all of Papua New Guinea.
The CCDA Managing Director says the project is a good learning point on how to implement RED Plus and also giving benefit to the people. The partnership is the first of its kind and they will continue to work together to ensure all objectives are met. Rayon Lakingu National, MTV News.
And now looking at the NASBAND market report, the Kina opened unchanged at $0.2850 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina was buying $0.2775, 0.3830 Australian dollars, 0.4068 New Zealand dollars, and 31.39 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading higher, coffee closed higher, cocoa closed higher, and copra closed lower. Crude oil is trading lower, palm oil closed lower, and copper closed the day higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed lower, the ASX 200 is trading lower, and the All Ordinaries is trading higher. You're watching National EMTV News. We'll be back with more stories after these messages. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. Milne Bay Province has doubled its smallholder oil palm harvest in 2021. From an average annual harvest of 7 tonnes per hectare per year, it has doubled to 14 tonnes per hectare.
A major investment into fixing roads for smallholder oil palm growers in Milne Bay has paid off, with the province doubling its annual yield in 2021. Oil Palm Industry Corporation officers in Milne Bay Province, who had been on the front line of extension services, are pleased with these results, attributing it to the recent road and block rehabilitation and the current price.
In Milne Bay, we see that there is an increase in the yield of oil palm from 7 tons per hectare to 14 tons per hectare. This is doubling the figure, and for us, it's bringing a lot of income into the pockets of our people, and also the industry as a whole.
Between 2020 and 2021, over 473,000 Kina was spent on Baraga Road, opening up access to 15 smallholder blocks. This year, roadworks in progress include the narrow Garuwaihi and Gabugabuna Maiwara Road. In Siasiada, work on rehabilitating OPIC's presence is progressing well, with 2 staff houses completely renovated. This was the state of the houses last year.
We are in the kind of transition period where before we abandoned many of these buildings, and now we are coming back again to renovate and transit into the new phase of OPIC through the work of our head office in Port Moresby. And it's not only happening in Milne Bay, but these activities are happening in other projects as well. I've seen stories and news of renovations in Kavian, New Island Province, and there are many other activities happening in other projects. Like we have a bridge that was opened recently, commissioned recently in West New Britain, and these are some of the transition activities that our new CEO is taking on board, and we are excited. We are excited to see many of these changes come through after many years.
This is something that has been missing for far too long. For 30 years, our farmers pay around 12 Kina to go down for service and back. So it's 24 Kina for a farmer to travel all the way down to the main office for queries and grievances and such. But to put up the station and to replace the staff again here and to also put up an office here will serve 700 growers.
With road and block rehabilitation underway, their major concern now is replacing all overgrown palms. Most of the palms are over 30 years old, and it is difficult to harvest. This leaves only 920 productive hectares.
We are currently looking forward to replanting more than 600 hectares which are overdue for replant.
Tatauro thanked the Marape government for including OPIC in the recurrent budget.
The project, most of the funding is collected, the levy collected is paid for salaries, and we don't have other activities that we can fund. And therefore, governments coming on board is relieving to us, because we will then use the levies now to improve other facilities within OPIC that will also support us in providing proper and efficient and effective extension service to our growers.
The OPIC officers are overwhelmed with the gratitude for these recent projects and immense support by the government to assist smallholder farmers, something they haven't seen for more than 20 years. Bradley Valenaki, National EMTV News.
You're watching National EMTV News. Trukai Sports is next. All the details after the break.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Member for Rigo Open, Lekwa Gure, is calling on young talents in his electorate to get involved in sporting activities. Gure spoke during the opening of the GK Soccer and Netball tournament, echoing his sentiments to encourage youths. The local MP gave 10,000 Kina to support the tournament in Makirupu village.
The local tournament attracted more than 20 villages in Rigo Central Province. Rigo MP Lekwa Gure, who was present during the opening ceremony earlier this week, encouraged the participants to exercise leadership in sports during the course of the tournament.
A tournament like this, you will exercise leadership in your teams, you will exercise teamwork in your teams. And indeed, I would even dare to say that those who practice the right leadership and those who cooperate as a team will probably come out the victorious team.
Gure's presence was a boost for the GK Soccer and Netball tournament. The Rigo District Development Authority contributed 10,000 Kina to support the local tournament. He urged the players to play in the true spirit of sportsmanship.
We need to have the right attitude to sports. Sport is, we know the benefits of sports, physical exercise, teamwork, leadership, all those good things that come out of, and also building relationships through these events such as this. So my encouragement to all the teams this afternoon is play your best, but at the same time, lose your best as well. Indeed, the best sportsmen are the people who lose and are still happy because they have participated.
The Village Invitational Tournament also received corporate sponsorship from MAPEX Training Institute for officials of the GK Memorial Cup. Suli Trukai Sports.
After round one of the GK Memorial Cup, Makirupu Team 1 are leading the tally on the leaderboard with 2 straight wins in Pool A of the men's soccer division. The team is hopeful to make the finals in the GK tournament.
Before the games even started, one dance performance by a local duo filled the atmosphere with hype and cheer. Setting the mood for the first day of the tournament. The game of football began with host team GK going up against team Alukuni, and with the advantage of having the home side cheer them on, took a 3-1 win against Alukuni.
Two Makirupu teams, GK team and Makirupu team, had played well today. And then we see that inland teams like Matairuka, Alepa, those Goni teams coming out here have displayed a great, remarkable level of play. Yeah, in a way, it's good because then we are raising the level of the games here, particularly soccer.
Apart from the win, Team GK clearly displayed some very raw talents on the field. Talents with potential growth within the code if harnessed well. Adding to the hype of the games, the inclusion of National Soccer League players like Tawini and Rupa Emil gives the young players an exciting challenge of football. The tournament ends this Friday with the finals of both football and netball to be played on the day. Suli Trukai Sports.
Trukai Sports continues with more after these short messages. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Chukai Sports. PNG Olympic Committee developed its performance strategy for Team PNG to achieve its vision of becoming the best performing Pacific nation at all major multi-sport games it competes in from 2021 through to 2024.
The two major sporting commitments on the horizon this year for Team PNG will be the Pacific Mini Games, hosted by the Northern Mariana Islands from the 17th to the 25th of June. Then the Birmingham Commonwealth Games from the 28th of July to the 8th of August. These two events will be the first test for the PNG Olympic Committee's performance strategy, which was finalized in April of last year. The strategy focuses on 5 key areas, including support to targeted elite athletes, performance-based standards, development pathways, elite performance expertise, and the formation of Team PNG's performance partnerships. This partnership was the priority of the strategy. It brings key stakeholders together, cooperating to achieve Team PNG's vision of being the best performing Pacific nation. The stakeholders in PNGOC's performance strategy include the Department of Higher Education and Sports, PNG Sports Foundation, National Sports Institute, High Performance Sport PNG, and representatives from the national federations. Huxley Lovai, Chukai Sports.
And that ends Chukai Sports. There were the details coming up next.
Chukai Sports. Chukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
A look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region. Partly cloudy with chances of brief afternoon showers in Port Moresby, Daru and Popondetta. Fine although cloudy in Kerma and partly cloudy weather in Alatau. In the Momasi region, cloudy with some showers, then partly cloudy in Ley and Vanimo. Some showers in Wau. Fine weather although cloudy in Medang and Wewak. In the New Guinea Islands region, mostly fine, though partly cloudy in Lorengau, Kavieng, Kokopo, Rabau and Puka, and partly cloudy with chances of a few showers in Kimbe. And in the Highlands region, morning fog clearing into partly cloudy weather with some afternoon showers in Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg. Forecast for small crafts for the next 24 hours. Coastal waters of southern PNG-Indonesian border through Daru to Hood Point, seas of 1 to 2 meters. Coastal waters of Hood Point to Samari Island, seas of 1 to 2 meters as well. Coastal waters of Vitia Strait to Wewak, seas of 1.5 to 2.5 meters. Waters of New Britain to New Ireland and Bougainville, seas of 0.5 to 1.5 meters. I'll look at the ocean forecast for PNG areas in the Coral Sea. Seas slight to moderate with northwesterly winds at 10 to 20 knots. In the Solomon Sea, seas moderate with northwesterly winds at 10 to 20 knots. In the Bismarck Sea, seas moderate northwest winds at 10 to 20 knots. And in the Pacific Ocean, seas moderate with northeast to northwest winds at 10 to 20 knots.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
And that's been the news, sport and weather for Tuesday. On behalf of the news team, have a pleasant evening and good night.